black people have fought, died in every war that has ever happened in the Western world, and highlighting their experience and the trauma that they face, coupled with the racism that they faced before going and after going, it made for just a very interesting story. My name is Sophie Hannah and this is the CINE CHIC vlog where I talk about films and everything to do with film. Today I'm talking about the Netflix film The Five Bloods. Now, this is a film by Spike Lee, which should have been released in the cinema, but as we know, because of coronavirus, nothing is really opening, or the world is just about to be opening up again. So it's been put on Netflix and I'm very excited that it has been. I was really excited about this film and watching it even more so. Let me not say too much, but what I would say initially, it's an action adventure film, and because it's Spike Lee, there's going to be issues with race thrown in there, comments on society. But let me get down to talking about the plot. Now, The Five Bloods is about 4 Vietnam veterans who are black, who are going back to Vietnam to look for the remains of their 5th blood, so they call themselves The Five Bloods. I guess that might be kind of obvious, but they're going back to look for the remains of their friend Norm, who died in Vietnam. Now, that's on the surface. Going on underneath is that when they were soldiers in Vietnam back in the day, they found a stash of gold and they have hidden it with the intent of always coming back to find it. And this is where the adventure begins, and what an adventure it is. So the #1 pro has to be the cast. The chemistry between the cast. These are senior veteran actors, maybe we should say veteran black actors, and they are really just absolutely fantastic in this role. There's so much natural chemistry and camaraderie amongst these actors that it really had to be like that in order to carry this film, in order to really talk about the idea that these are people who have been friends for decades, and it comes across so well. So everybody who's in this film, from Delroy Lindo to Clark Peters to Isaiah Whitlock Jr., Norm Lewis, all of them do an absolutely amazing job in this film, and I would definitely have to pick out Delroy Lindo especially. He is fantastic in this film. He has this monologue to camera at one point which is just so raw and so intense. Just the journey that his character goes on, you see everything in his character, everything that he's going through, and shows how harrowing war is, the effect that it can have on somebody. I've heard there's Oscars talking, if he is nominated he would definitely deserve it. So the cast, definitely pro #1. Another thing I'd have to mention is the backdrop of Vietnam. Vietnam, the nature, the forest, the fields, it's just a very, very beautiful, maybe just a really nice use of imagery, but whatever it is, the backdrop is absolutely stunning in this film, and it really made me want to see this in the cinema, because this is the sort of film that deserves the big screen experience. So I really do hope that it will be shown in the cinema. Another pro would have to be the idea of race that is talked about in this film. Now, as I said, this film is a Spike Lee joint, so it's definitely going to touch on ideas of race. Like, this is something that is very central and very important to, I would say, his whole back catalogue of films and the work that he does. But I think in this film, first of all, I would have to say that I think the idea of race is really well balanced, because talking about racism in America, the way that played into the Vietnam War, that's a very heavy subject. But this is also an action adventure film, and he's found a really great way to kind of balance it all during the film. You're able to see these really light and humorous sides of the film, of the characters. You're really caught up in this kind of hidden treasure adventure, but then you also have this idea of racism, the injustices that were faced by these soldiers during the Vietnam War. And I guess this really paints a unique picture to what's going on in society now with the Black Lives Movement, and just seeing that not really much has changed. I would say this makes an important film for now, but I think every film that Spike Lee does is very important. But I think right now, Black Lives Movement, that's why this film is also so much more poignant, because again, it looks at the idea of a culture, a race, the black community who has contributed so much to society. I'm talking specifically about America here, because America is, these soldiers are American, but they have contributed so much to society, they have bled and died for their country, still to be made to seem like they're not making any contribution, to be made to feel like they don't have access to opportunities and that they can go home and just feel really unappreciated for everything that they've done. And I don't even feel like unappreciated is a big enough word. It's not. To kind of be trampled on by society when you've given so much to it. I guess that's what makes this the best possible time for this film to have been released. And the last pro for me would be the way it represents war to a certain extent. So just looking at the fact that nobody is untouched by war, soldiers can't turn off the experience that they have, or the experience that they have had in going to war. It changes the soldier forever. I don't know how you can go and see death and pain and suffering on that level, to be a part of it, to be trained to kill another human being and it not affect you. And then they're expected to come back and to just fit into normal society. And I really like that Spike Lee touched on that and the war experience from a black soldier's perspective, because black people have fought, died in every war that has ever happened in the Western world, and highlighting their experience and the trauma that they face, coupled with the racism that they face before going and after going, it made for just a very interesting story. In terms of the cons, about an hour in, it kind of slowed in pace to me, and I was kind of like, okay, let's pick it up, what's going on. That period lasted for a very short period of time, and then when we got to like the second half of the film, it was bam, 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 literally on the edge of my seat, wondering what it is that was going to happen. And another con that I would say is that perhaps the film looks mostly from the Black American experience of soldiers. In terms of the Vietnam War, that was one of the first wars that was ever really photographed and televised. And you're going to fight a war against people who are also not being treated well in certain parts, who are fighting for their life, who are living on the poverty lines. And I guess there's two sides to this story, and it kind of mainly focuses on one. I guess that's a slight con, because I think it would have been nice to kind of see the reasons behind the Vietnam War from their perspective, or the effect it had on their people, or the injustices that they face in having to be put into this war as well. But it was already over 2.5 hours long, so maybe that would have increased it too much. And obviously Spike Lee was really focusing on one perspective, the soldier is the main character, so I don't know, that's a small con for me. Now in terms of the ratings, I like to rate my films according to burgers, because I love burgers. And out of a total of 5 burgers, I would give the Five Bloods a good strong 4 burger. Like, this is a film that is excellently put together, a really fulfilling experience in terms of an action and adventure. It gives you just enough action and adventure. I mean, it was a bit bloody for me in parts, but I think, you know, if you're really kind of into that kind of action adventure, you know, blood squirting and spraying everywhere, you're definitely going to love it. But it also has a really strong and focused story and plot line. It's really built around the central story of friendship, and all the other aspects that are going on in terms of race and war and all these different things. It just really makes for a really juicy, tasty burger, and because it's on Netflix, there is nothing to stop you from watching it. Now, I always like to end my vlogs on a film question, and today's question would be, what is your favourite war film? Please let me know down below, as always, in the comments. Don't forget, while you're down there, to like this video, to subscribe to my channel so you can see when I'm releasing the next video, the next film review, or the next anything, because there is a lot going on my channel at the moment. But until next time, I'll be seeing you soon.